Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us for our final session for Virtual O Week that we've been running this week. I hope that you guys have enjoyed some of the sessions we've been running. I can see some familiar faces, so it's really great to see you all joining in. And yeah, I'm just going to get straight into it and chat a little bit about our environment challenges before passing on to some of our amazing alumni who are going to talk about their own experience on our programs. So I'm going to just run through a bit of a quick overview about challenges abroad, then talk about some of the specific environmental issues our communities are facing, talk about what you do as a volunteer to address some of those issues, break down our programs, and then chat about why your skills are important and how you can really help our community before passing on to Emerson and Christina to chat a little bit about their experience. So, who is Challenges Abroad? We are a social enterprise that was established as a means of supporting our charity, the Future Sense Foundation. So as a social enterprise, that means we really have a strong focus on our impact, and for us that's twofold. So it's our impact that we can have on our volunteers and their own personal growth as they develop into global citizens, but also the impact that we can have on our partner communities and the Future Sense Foundation around the world. And then on top of that impact, we also support the foundation financially. So any profits that we're making throughout the year are being donated to support the long-term ongoing programs that Future Sense is running in our communities. And so together we offer the opportunity for young people around Australia and New Zealand to be able to have an ethical volunteering experience, to use your skills to make a difference, but also to grow and learn new skills, really important employability skills, and become a global citizen, broadening your horizons as you travel around the world. Meanwhile, Future Sense is really focusing on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and making sure that all of our programs that we're running throughout the year and with our communities are really addressing actual needs that the community has and that they align with those long-term sustainable development goals. So as a volunteer, you know that even if you're only volunteering for a short period of time, like 2 or 3 weeks, your impact is going to be ongoing as Future Sense, making sure that it's built upon and it's long-term. So one of the biggest issues that we're seeing in our communities are environmental issues. And as we see the continued effects of climate change, these are only going to get worse. And it's really important that we can do something to address these. So some of the big issues that we're seeing is waste management. In a lot of the communities where we work, there aren't proper waste systems. So rubbish is just thrown on the ground, there's litter everywhere, there's no recycling in Nepal. Plastic is actually burnt to get rid of it. So that has some really significant health and environmental impacts, but also just the impacts everywhere from rubbish being around, getting into waterways, and all those effects. And there's also a lack of knowledge that's contributing to the waste management. So many people don't actually know why it's important to recycle and what that does and how it can protect the environment. And then we have animal rights. So in most of the countries where we're working, we're seeing a lack of animal rights. Animals are being mistreated, especially elephants. We're seeing them used in the tourism and the logging industries, which is extremely harmful for them. And so we work with a number of different organisations around our communities that are focusing on protecting animals, advocating for animal rights, but also looking into the land degradation, deforestation and things that are disturbing and destroying the natural habitat for these animals, which again has huge environmental consequences. And then we have climate change, which is a big one, and none of our communities are immune from the effects of these, but what we're seeing is extreme weather events are becoming more extreme and more frequent. In Thailand, for example, we're having more regular and harmful flooding. We're seeing storms that are damaging people's houses regularly. In Peru, we're seeing a huge drought. And for communities where they rely entirely on agriculture and farming, drought has drastic impacts on their ability to earn an income and stay above the poverty line, leading a good life. And then finally, clean water is a significant issue in all of our communities, especially in Tanzania, where 50% of the population don't actually have access to clean water. They're often using unfiltered, untreated, unsafe water. And we're seeing this in our communities all around the world as well, to varying degrees. So really looking at how we can improve the infrastructure and knowledge about safe water. And so what do our volunteers actually do to tackle some of these issues? One of the biggest things that we work on in our different environmental focused programs is education. So working at local schools and in the broader community on environmental education and awareness. So thinking about and learning from the community, where are the gaps in knowledge and what do they want to know, what don't they understand, and then working with them to teach things like recycling, how we can live sustainably, and doing that in a culturally appropriate context as well. And then the second part of our environment programs usually involve some sort of a more hands-on project. So whether that's building a waste segregation system at one of our schools, whether that's working on a community garden, whether that is creating eco bricks in Cambodia, which is essentially collecting plastic from plastic waste and garbage that's lying around and filling plastic water bottles with that, which then become really hard bricks that we can use in building houses, one of our new schools and structures. So that's sort of got the dual focus of building sustainable structures, but also helping deal with a lot of plastic waste issues there. So just as an overview, these are the 5 main environmental focused challenges that we have. So we have our Thailand Elephants and Hill Tribes Challenge. On this program, you'll spend 1 week with our animal sanctuary partner, Elephant Nature Park, and there you'll be working to assist with the day-to-day running of the park that has over 80 rescued elephants, as well as hundreds of cats and dogs. And you'll be assisting with feeding, cleaning, and generally caring for the animals, as well as learning a lot about the importance of animal rights, how to advocate for that, and how we can improve the lives of animals everywhere. And then in the second week on that program, you'll actually head up to a remote hill tribe village. You'll be working in one of our partner schools on a range of education and environmental focused initiatives there. On our Nepal Sustainability Challenge, you'll be spending 2 weeks in Dhulikhel in the Sacred Valley, and again, focusing on those environmental focused education initiatives, as well as working on a hands-on project like I spoke about just before. And then we have our Cambodia Wildlife and Environment Challenge, and this is very similar to our Elephants and Hill Tribes Challenge in Thailand. So you'll be spending a week in Cambodia at a sanctuary that is actually run by the same sanctuary in Thailand, and working there to look after and care for some of the animals that are there, but also having a focus on restoring some of the land that has been destroyed by logging and deforestation. And then in your second week, you'll come and work with our local community and our partner schools on some hands-on and education initiatives. Then our Amazon Sustainability Challenge, which is in Peru. On this one, you actually spend a week going into the Amazon rainforest, and you'll get to work with different conservation organisations and visit different conservation areas, and you'll be learning all about some of the environmental challenges faced. You'll meet with local Indigenous communities and get to see some of the native flora and fauna there. It's an absolutely incredible week. And then in the second week, you will again head into our community and work on some hands-on and educational projects. And then finally, we have our India Climate Challenge, which is a brand new program that we're so excited about. It's going to be launching on our website next week, so keep an eye on that. And on this one, again, you'll be based for 2 weeks with our community, working in schools and with local partner organisations, focusing on a whole range of education initiatives and some hands-on projects. All right, so that should give you a pretty good overview of the different ways that you can make a difference. But I also just wanted to talk a little bit about why your skills are important, because I think that's something that might not often be apparent straight away, but we really believe that the education and knowledge that our volunteers can bring is huge. We're lucky in Australia that we have been provided with a strong environmental education, and there are many things that we might take for granted, such as recycling, that we can easily share with communities who don't necessarily have that knowledge. And I think we all know how powerful knowledge can be in creating change. And then there's engagement and enthusiasm. So our volunteers are role models for the children that we're working with in our communities. They inspire them and can encourage them to stay engaged with their education and their learning, and dream about all the different possibilities for their own future and how they can really achieve their absolute potential. Our volunteers are also huge in terms of additional resources when you're working on your different infrastructure and hands-on projects. That's really helping us with projects that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise, and makes a real difference to the school or the community where we're working. And then finally, there's what you do once you return home. So we talk a lot about becoming a global citizen, and that doesn't just mean what you do when you're overseas, but it's also when you come back and you talk about some of these global issues and you think about your own community and what you can continue to do to make a difference there, to make the world a better place. And if we're all doing our bit to make a difference, then the change that is possible is just enormous. And then what you'll get out of it, I think I could probably talk all day about the benefits of volunteering, but some of the main ones is that you learn so much about yourself and you grow in confidence. You have to really step out of your comfort zone on our programs. You know, they're called Challenges Abroad for a reason, and they're going to be hard and difficult, but that's how we really learn what we're truly capable of and gain confidence and push ourselves. And you'll really spend a lot of time reflecting on what you're seeing, what you're learning, and how that's going to affect you moving forward. And really reflecting on your experience is a huge part of learning and growing. You'll get to meet new people. So many of the people on our volunteer programs we see stay in contact afterwards. They may not have even known each other before they began, and then after the program, they're catching up all the time and staying in contact. And it's a really great way to meet some people who are like-minded but are also from all over the country and sometimes all over the world. And it's always amazing to have a network like that when you experience something as intimate as one of our volunteer programs. And then there's the fun and meaningful travel. So you're going to be based in communities that are sort of off the beaten track. They're not often on the normal tourist path. And so you get the opportunity to live more like a local and really understand what it's like to live daily life in those communities, what some of the challenges are. But you really get a deeper understanding of the culture, far more than just doing a sightseeing trip around the country. But at the same time, you have breaks, time on the weekend and after your program to do some travel like that as well, to really make it a well-rounded experience. And then finally, there's the skills that you'll develop. So I think we can all agree that the job market is pretty competitive, and so too is the study market, and trying to get into different degrees and courses and opportunities, and the more skills we can develop, the better. And on one of our programs, you'll develop things like teamwork skills, communication skills, especially communicating where there's a language barrier. You'll gain confidence, problem solving. You'll have to learn how to think on your feet, and adaptability and flexibility are huge skills that you'll learn as well. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea of what you can expect to gain from the program, because there's certainly huge benefits to our volunteers as well as our communities who are receiving your own support. So I think enough from me now. I'm going to give Emerson and Christina the chance to talk about their experience. So I'll let you guys unmute your mic, and we might just move on to the first question that I have for you, which is, what was your biggest challenge on our Elephants and Hill Tribes program?
Well, I'll start us off on this one. So just a bit of background, I'd done a volunteering trip before Challenges Abroad, but as much as I went into it thinking, oh, you know, it's going to be the same and everything, it really wasn't. It really pushed me further because it was more hands-on ourselves. And for me, a challenge was when we went to do the teaching in the Hill Tribes. With a lot of like the programs, you do a lot of teaching, and just being able to communicate with that language barrier, I think, was a huge challenge. But within the first couple of hours, we were able to just overcome that really quickly and snap onto some tools and just using body language as an example to really teach, and the kids would pick up on it so quickly. So I'll definitely say that was a challenge, and I would confidently say we were able to overcome it.
Awesome. What about you, Christina?
For me, it was probably going into the Elephant Nature Park. I wasn't really sure what I was going to experience. I was a little bit anxious about how close we were going to get with the animals, because I was a little bit fearful about being up and close and personal with all the big elephants. But after just a short while, that I didn't feel so anxious anymore, because we had all the leaders and mahouts and everything with us. So they were able to tell us what to do and what's safe and what's not. So yeah, that was probably the biggest challenge I had. And by the end of it, I was up close and I wasn't so fearful anymore about them.
Yeah, I've seen some amazing photos of you guys with the elephants. They're just incredible.
Yeah. Awesome.
And probably maybe something slightly easier to answer, but what was a highlight for you guys across the trip?
For me, it was probably when we went to the Hill Tribe and we were teaching all the children. It was probably seeing all the joy and happiness in their face. It was probably a highlight for me, because it made the experience really worthwhile and real, seeing actually their reactions to how like we're making an impact on their lives.
Yeah, and for me, the elephants, like that was just so, I couldn't believe it. Every day, or you'd wake up at like 2 a.m. and you'd just hear this elephant just like trotting down right next to you, and it was just like so surreal. Like you just wake up, look out the window, and there they are just walking down like the gravel road there. So that was amazing. Not even just the elephants there, like they had horses, cats, dogs, like water buffaloes. There was so many different animals that you could also interact with, and learnt so much there. So that was definitely a huge highlight for me.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think our Elephants and Hill Tribes program is just like in another world with the opportunities it has. And for the last question, I'm just keen to get a sense of what you guys feel the impact was of the program on you guys.
So for me, I think it was being able to educate others. Going home, you know, I heard that before and I was like, how am I going to do it? But just a simple discussion, like I'd be able to have with my mates, and they're just like, oh, like that's happening. Like it really just, you know, makes my mates realize that there's a lot of stuff going on, and, you know, then they research about it. Just being able to educate anyone, having a easygoing conversation just about it. And it's also, I've been able to educate myself now about a whole lot of different things, and especially like social injustice and all of that, just really educating myself on that, being able to educate others and stuff, I think was really powerful.
Yeah, that's so true. I think it's really great to hear that. And that's absolutely what we talk about, is like embracing sort of your own mind opening to those, you know, often challenging things to learn, but then being able to start those conversations and spread awareness in your own home community is amazing.
Yeah. For me, it's probably it's impacted me by learning about all the small things that we can do. For example, like we've been learning about some sustainable brands that we shouldn't be buying from. So just making those small decisions that may not impact us directly, but in a global scale, it really does. And just by making small choices, it can really make a big impact on the world.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, I think sometimes it's easy to feel really overwhelmed, like the problems are so big, how can I make a difference? But like, there's nothing worse than doing nothing. And I think actively doing anything that you can that's within your means day to day to make a change will make a difference.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I'll just pause here. If there are any questions, feel free to pop that in the chat box or unmute your mic and ask. I'm going to continue on through the last few slides, but feel free to jump in at any time if anyone has any questions. So, of course, COVID-19 has been a big, I guess you could say, disruption for us in terms of not being able to have our volunteers travelling with us this year. But we have been continuously monitoring the situation in Australia and in our overseas communities, and have been really pleased to see lately some of our communities starting to come out the other side, which is just amazing. And we're really confident that by the time we get to this time next year and later into 2021, we'll be back in full swing with our programs. So we've also introduced a few new flexibility options so that you can confidently book your program today and travel next year, and know that you've got that all booked in and sorted. So we have no change of date fees. So what this means is that if it's coming up to your program and for whatever reason you either can't travel or you don't want to travel at that time, we can postpone your program to a more suitable time, absolutely no cost. We also have full program flexibility. So for instance, if you had booked our Elephants and Hill Tribes Challenge, and again, for whatever reason you didn't want to travel to Thailand or that wasn't possible, we've got full flexibility and we can change that program out to, say, our Wildlife and Environment Challenge in Cambodia. And then finally, we have flexible payment plans. So depending on what works best for you and your own situation, when you sign up, you just pay a small deposit, and then the remainder of your program fee can be paid in weekly, monthly, or quarterly installments. And if you did happen to need to postpone your program, then your payment plan would extend along with that as well. And we've also been looking into enhanced health measures in all of our communities. So obviously this has always been a really big priority for us, but we're looking into how we can be doing deeper and more regular cleaning, and also looking into things like reducing the amount of volunteers that we have staying in the bedroom and sharing a bathroom, just to make sure that everything is as safe as it possibly can in these new circumstances. And we also have a very exciting new program, which is our virtual internships that are going to be launching soon. So please keep an eye on our website for that. But if you really want to make a difference now and work with us now, we have created an opportunity where you'll be able to support our communities and have a volunteering experience with us, but from the comfort of your own home. So if you don't want to wait until 2021, that's definitely an option that you should keep an eye out for. And so finally, there's a few different ways that you can learn more about our programs if you would like to. So you can book in a call with one of our volunteering experts, so you can chat about what your interests are, what your skills are, and they can help match you up with the best program for you, as well as answering any further questions that you might have. You can also visit our socials, so Instagram and Facebook are a really great way to see more about what we're sort of up to at the moment and hear some more stories from our volunteers. And then our YouTube channel has lots of videos so that you can see for yourself what it's like in some of our communities. And then you can always send us an email with any quick questions. And as always, check out our website for more information and to read some of our blogs about what's going on in the world. But I can see that there aren't any questions. So I'll just thank Emerson and Christina once again for joining us. It was really great to have you on here and talking about your experience. I hope you guys are both keeping safe, and really looking forward to seeing you again, hopefully in person in the future at some point when everything's getting back to normal. But yes, thank you everyone for tuning into this session and for tuning in throughout our virtual open week. I hope you found it really valuable, and make sure you do get in touch if you have any questions at all.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
See you later.